I know I'm saying a lot, but there's a lot to get done. And this is where a CRM comes in handy.
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned very quickly a health check, and then you went through like everything that you should be looking at on that health check. Another just quick reference, go to the website. The health check is there. If you think that you have the time, and a lot of advisors do have this kind of time once the practice kind of slows down. Yeah. People are meeting with their families. Like, this is a great time now at the end of the year to start taking a look at your back of house. Mm-hmm. You know, is everything working as it should?
Yeah.
Is the data clean? Is it connecting? I'm not even going to attempt to run through the list that you just did. But those are all the things that you should be thinking about, because the last thing that you want is inaccurate information or duplicate data.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa, brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners. It's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and the direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. And now, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. This is Brian Lutz, Chief Marketing Officer with Elite Consulting Partners, and with me, I'm going to say as always, because
we've been doing a lot of podcasts together.
We've been doing a lot of podcasts together, and I enjoy it. Tell people who you are.
I am a human. I'm just kidding. Sue Cheema, Chief Information Officer at Elite Consulting Partners.
Probably does need to be disclosed with the amount of incredible information that you give at your fingertips.
I'm a human.
Yeah, some people could think that you are an AI experience, which we do have here.
Which we do have. That's right.
Right. You're basically the OG Elite Genie. We have replicated you in cyberspace. Topic for another time. Today, we're talking about what advisors need to be looking at and potentially investing in to enhance the client experience in 2026.
Ooh. Fun topic.
Before we get to that, let's get to a little bit of news.
Love it.
I found an article out by Deloitte. It was their 2026 Investment Management Outlook, which I thought was timely.
Yeah.
But the article was highlighting that while profit growth is elusive, meaning hard to capture, right?
Yeah.
Differentiation via technology and client experience will be crucial in 2026. And this is speaking from the view of how to attract advisors to your firm.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So firms, although always talk about the payout and how the payout is so important, they're really kind of bringing to the forefront of the conversation about how their technology stack and their client experience is really what's setting them apart from other firms.
Right. I recently, in addition to this, and this might be a tangent, but it kind of adds to what you're saying. I read an article recently, and I forget the source, so apologies, but it was essentially highlighting that though technology may not exponentially add to the productivity, like direct productivity of an advisor, it does add to their happiness.
Really?
It does add to their happiness and fulfillment because they don't feel bombarded with all the admin work. Like, they didn't go to school to do the admin work that comes on with that, especially when you're... So there you have it.
Is that like an employee satisfaction score?
Probably.
I mean, listen, I don't enjoy doing the admin work either.
No one does, right?
If I never had to see another expense report in my life, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. But I think one of the other things that really impressed me about this Deloitte article was that they were saying how a number of firms are moving out of the experimental phase and into full-on production, to where they're investing in enterprise-level solutions, whether it's with the use of AI or third-party platforms, and rolling it out to their entire advisor group to say, this is who we are, this is why you came here, we're investing in you as much as we are investing in the business.
I mean, we talk about it often. If you're not investing in your technology, you are going to become stale and obsolete quickly.
Yeah.
You know, because there's only this much you can delegate.
And honestly, like I love that firms are leading with, here are the benefits of coming to our platform, right?
Right.
And it's not just the payout.
And they highlight it. Like, we have been to so many conferences, we hold one here. One of the distinguishing element that they'll highlight is their technology, right?
Right.
That you won't have to do a lot of admin work, that you will actually get to be an advisor, making decisions, pertaining to clients' financial goals as well as investments.
Right. Well, I mean, like earlier this year, like Summit Financial Group, a firm that we work closely with, Stan Greger came out, I think it was probably towards the end of the summer, and was like, listen, we're investing into all of these platforms because that's what we need to do to be competitive with all of these other firms. They were bringing on third-party tools to do like AI-enhanced lead generation opportunities.
Wow.
Or AI-led lead generation strategies, digital marketing platforms, M&A analytics. They're pulling in all of this information into their platform to make their advisors more productive, more efficient, and honestly, giving them a step up from other advisors in the market.
I think it's becoming a standard, right? Like, essentially just having not only a specific, optimized, forward-looking, robust tech stack, but also like having a roadmap considering the disruption that might be coming or evolution that might be coming in technology. Like, if you don't lean in, you may be the odd one out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this, because in that same article that I saw Stan mentioned in Summit, they had compared Summit's decision to incorporate third-party platforms into their technology stack to MassMutual, who earlier, I think a few weeks earlier, had come out and said, we're going all in with Orion. Orion has an all-in platform that allows their advisors to do everything under the Orion umbrella. Thank you. What's your take on like best of breed for a specific strategy versus an all-in-one solution?
I'm going to be honest about this. I think it's hard to do it all. I think when a platform tries to be a financial planning tool, a CRM, a reconciling tool, they tend to miss the mark on some of the core. They could do the core functionality, but then they miss the marks on other functionality that a third-party competitor to offer that's like highly rated only in that specific niche, because that's what they're good at, right? Yeah, that would be my approach. I mean, I have implemented tech stack where a platform is like, we'll do it all. And to some degree, they, at a very superficial, lower level, may be able to, if you're like a growing advisor coming in, or you're, just a growing firm. But at an enterprise level, why not get the best of breed? Why not?
Well, so if you'll allow me, I'll play devil's advocate there.
Please do.
Right? Let me spark a small little debate.
Let's do it.
All-in-one solution. You've said on a few podcasts here that when you bring in third-party platforms, sometimes you're dependent upon connectors to bring in all of the information into a centralized reporting tool, like
That's
a
true.
CRM or an ERP.
That's true.
Type platform.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I think if those middlewares are optimal in that integration to create that holistic ecosystem, then I would take that approach, in comparison to the one where it's like, oh, let's glue this all together to create one illusion of an ecosystem for you. And again, I think that might work for, size is subjective, but a smaller firm that may not have the funds, is looking for very core basic functionality, is simplistic in their AUM, and are still growing and creating that revenue for themselves. So, yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that there are cost efficiencies when you go
I was able to convince Brian.
Well, no, listen, I'm just playing, the advocate here for the other side. But, I mean, to your point, there are cost efficiencies when you choose an all-in-one platform.
Yes.
But I've always been a larger advocate of best-in-breed software and then find a way to make them all work together.
Yeah, I think if you are comparing, the all-in platform, let's say a CRM, and let's just pick Salesforce because it's the enterprise top-tier CRM, there's a lot more cost-effectively to compare in features and functionality, customization, blah, blah, blah. You list it all together. There's just a lot more for the same price.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so that wraps up headlines. Really enjoy that segment.
I like it. I like it making it relevant for the advisors, the viewers, the listeners.
100%. And for those who want to follow along in those articles, we'll make sure that we link them in the show notes. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can find it in the show notes below, or you can come to our website at eliteconsultingpartners.com.
Please do.
Find the episode, and we'll have all the information and a transcript of the podcast there as well. So getting into the topic for today.
I like this one. I mean, I like all of them.
What an advisor needs to be thinking about as we approach the end of the year to set them up for success in 2026 as it relates to enhancing client experience with their technology stack.
There's like a human element to technology, which is like such an interesting statement, but I think it's a time to reflect, right? Like, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What platform has worked? What platform has not worked? The ones that are working, let's take a bucket and put it aside for 2 seconds. The ones that are not working, there is, as I mentioned earlier, there is an evolution happening in technology. We're compounding the benefits that has been led to in the past decade or two, and it's really hitting the financial services industry. And I think and you and I talk about it often, right? In the next 5 to 10 years, between blockchain and artificial intelligence and everything else with the quantum that's gonna come to benefit us all to create the state of abundance.
The state of abundance. I love that.
Right. At the end of the day, like if you are still like chugging along on a platform that's 5 years old, 10 years old, you are going to feel the burden much more in the next 5 years, because technology has become cheaper, technology has become better, technology is able to process a lot more information. You may be missing out on the benefits that are core to some of the really inexpensive platforms.
Well, and not for nothing, but you kind of teased it there. You've got a really great document that kind of compares the top 3 CRMs, don't you?
Yes, we do. We spend the last month kind of really making a document that advisors could look at, use to evaluate, what their requirements are, where they are, phase, whether it's their own, rep cycle, as I would say, versus the firm's rep cycle, and come to really align with the tech stack.
Right. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, and I highly recommend you go check it out.
It's a good one.
JediSolutions.com. Go to resources. You'll see the CRM comparison white paper that's there. Highly recommend. We'll also we'll have another podcast, Sue and I, where we'll dig into a few of the charts and graphs that are on there and give a little bit more detail that's not yet in the white paper, but should be a good conversation as well.
That would be a great one. And I'm very proud of that white paper.
You should be. It's a heck of a document.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But Sue, for today, we start thinking about like first steps. If an advisor hasn't really taken a look at their CRM,
yes,
and they're focused on first steps of enhancing the client experience outside of in-person meetings, what's that foundation? Like, what should they be looking at?
Naming convention tend to be the easiest. Like oftentimes when you're hiring new folks or you don't have SOPs written out, standard documentation to make data consistent, relevant, up to date. Those are the 3 that I look for when I'm doing like a health check. Like, are all the, people within the firm named identically? Like, are they consistent in their format? Simple as that. Are they consistent in their format of the households? Are they consistent in the format of financial accounts? Are there a lot of financial accounts that are zeroed out? Like, What is the purpose of that? Are you keeping it for historic record keeping? Are there mother's maiden names that are missing? Are there, driver's licenses that are outdated? Are the clients marked as clients? Like, are those the clients you're serving? Or do you have a fiduciary responsibility to the clients that are tagged as client? The spouses should not be tagged as client because you do not have that responsibility towards them. Are the RMDs coming in? Are you tracking, contribution, distribution? Are there, do you have your CPAs? I know I'm saying a lot, but there's a lot to get done. And this is where a CRM comes in handy.
Yeah, so you mentioned very quickly a health check, and then you went through everything that you should be looking at on that health check. Another just quick reference, go to the website. The health check is there. If you think that you have the time, and a lot of advisors do have this kind of time once the practice kind of slows down, people are meeting with the families. This is a great time now at the end of the year to start taking a look at your back of house. Mm-hmm. Is everything working as it should?
Yeah.
Is the data clean? Is it connecting? I'm not even going to attempt to run through the list that you just did, but those are all the things that you should be thinking about, because the last thing that you want is inaccurate information or duplicate data.
Right, because listen, advisors have to maybe filing SEC report. They might be doing ADV reporting. They might be, just we owe it to our clients to serve them in the best way possible. And I think I know advisors are looking to do that.
So, Sue, that's actually a good point. When we get into regulatory readiness, what is it that people should be looking at to making sure that, number one, they're compliant with FINRA, the SEC, and all the other state governments, state regulations?
Yeah.
And how often should they be looking at
that? Quarterly.
Okay.
When I was, at the very least, right, when I was working at the RIA, we had, outlier reports that would go out to the compliance officer as an example from the CRM. At the end of the day, it's the marking of your clients have to be, that's the most important thing that you can get out of a CRM is who your clients are. If you were to do one basic thing, that's the one, and marking them as if you are getting the financial account information, who's the primary owner of those accounts, who is responsible for those accounts, do they have beneficiary listed, is that beneficiary information up to date? Those are the things that we really need to review on an annual basis, not only with the clients, but within our CRM, that it's not it's just updating the custodian. CRM is just we just use it to send birthday notifications. But I think if you're coming in and pulling the custodial data, the financial planning data, the tax implication data, and performance data, pull it all together, create that holistic analytical view of your clients, that you could do a lot more as long as it's consistent and up to date and accurate.
Right. No, I think that's great. One of the other things I wanted to ask you, too, as it relates to more along the lines of cybersecurity, I know you and Jim, our Chief Technology Officer, had a great podcast on that topic. How often should you be looking at password resets, two-factor authentications, those types of systems, maybe even going through and running reports, user reports, permission reports? Are there people on there that are no longer with the firm? How often should that happen? I know a lot of users dislike this, but the policy for passwords really should be from 30 to 60 days max. I think it should be reinforced if you do not have, an SSO coming in from, let's say, Microsoft or Okta, whatever some firms are using today. And then two-factor authentication, I'm sorry, there's no room to not do it unless you have trusted IPs there's a lot of way where if management, the managing partner is I really don't have time to be looking at my phone going through fine. We'll create some trusted IP addresses for the local location. But outside of that, absolutely, you should have your data backed up at the very least monthly. God forbid, there is a situation. Those are some of the basic things that folks should be following. Well, and it's getting easier, right? One of the things that I absolutely can't stand is resetting my password every 30 days. But, with hardware improvements, whether that be the computer that's at your desk or your mobile device, there have been significant improvements in biometrics, meaning using facial recognition or fingerprint, something along those lines to add that additional layer of security as well. Big.
On security, can I share a story?
Yeah,
when
do it.
When I was working at the United Nations Credit Union, that was a while back, you couldn't even walk away from your desk without locking your computer. The penalty was you could be let go if you just walk away, get water, and your computer's out running. So that's we really have to think about, we are protecting other people's data, we are monitoring other people's data, and we really have to be considerate as our own when we're dealing with it, super sensitive, and don't walk away from your desk without locking your computers.
Yeah, I mean, that's, should be a priority. All right, so when we talk about, this is a topic that I know that we talk about a lot, and so we're going to talk about it again because I think it's just so important. Let's talk about technology and workflow automation.
Love it.
I know we've said technology a lot today, but I want to kind of release you on your favorite workflows. If there's an advisor out there who listens to this podcast that hasn't heard you talk about the lowest hanging fruit in terms of how to optimize your practice or how to add a little bit of personalization.
Yeah.
I'll tease a Jedi mind trick here in a bit, but before we get into that, I want to kind of let you go on workflows that you should be thinking about and having in place in 2026 if you don't have them already.
So I, as you were asking that question, I was telling in my head all the pain points that advisors have shared over the years. And at the end of the day, if you could take the top 3 pain points and solve them technically, what does that look like? So note-taking has become easier, right, with all these transcripts, artificial intelligence platforms that have emerged, I would say, in the past 12 to 24 months. Definitely try one, use one, integrate it with your CRM, really get top highlights of, the goals that the client is looking to complete, and have those as tasks. That's, I would say, a low-hanging fruit because it's so prominent and inexpensive. It's a cost-effective approach to solving a problem, relatively speaking. The second one I'm thinking is onboarding, right? A lot of people have challenges with onboarding because oftentimes as you are prospecting, you're living in the CRM. As you're onboarding a new client or account, you're kind of transitioning into the custodian. And then here comes the manual processes that are making the entire end result sluggish. You could integrate, right? So that's one. Those are 2 automations that I would propose. And then at the end of the day, we're talking about personalization with your clients. What does that look like? Do you have their birth date information? Can you send them a quick, hey, thinking about you? Do you have their life events, things that are important to them? When are they getting married? Is their son going off to college? Is he getting his first job? Is he about to propose? Or are they having a kid? Whatever, the beautiful things in life that, make sure you're part of it, and that's how you become sticky. I would say those 3.
So if you don't follow Jedi on social media, I would recommend you go to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, because Sue does a really great job at providing small little bits of information like the ones that you just described of how to create a personalization email on a client's birthday. Very easy. I think the video is less than 2 minutes long, but it goes a long way to let the client know that you're thinking about them, right? Love that as a video. But one of the things that I wanted to mention too was, as you were talking, one of the headlines that we didn't get to in our news segment was J.D. Power came out with this quote that customer satisfaction with individuals are actually strained beginning at the new client experience based on digital limitations. So to your point about onboarding, satisfaction's being harmed by poor onboarding and digital friction.
Yeah, it's like, you know how they say your first impression is your last impression, or has a lot of impact on people. If your clients are onboarding and that's their first impression of your firm and how you do things, it's the most important one, right? So what would you spend to make that their best?
I don't know. Probably a good amount of change.
Right? Yeah. So then invest in integration. Like, how could a client have the most seamless experience to your firm? What does that look like? Is it an app on their phone where they could just fill in the information, sign a document, and you're ready to go with their account being established in the custodian as an example?
Yeah.
So do it. Invest in that.
I love that. All right, so those are 3 great workflows that you should think about before the end of the year. The other thing, I kind of mentioned this on a user report, like making sure that there's users that don't have access to your platform that are no longer with the firm. One of the things that I keep seeing ads on, and I feel targeted because this probably is very relevant to me, but one of the things that we want to talk about is consolidating redundant technologies.
Yes.
And I relate this to paying for things that you're not using, right?
Yeah.
There are so many times where, and this goes back to the ad that I keep seeing, is that I think it's Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket Mortgage, is it?
I don't know if it's Rocket Mortgage. Terrible ad because now I can't remember the term, but it's highlighting things that you're paying for that you may not be using. Like some people might have 2 Netflix accounts if they recently moved in with their spouse.
Yeah.
Or, they think they canceled a service, but it's still showing up in their bill and they're just not reviewing it, right?
Right.
Same thing with these technologies, right? Maybe you signed up for a pilot and after 30 days they started charging you, but you forgot to cancel it. If you're not the one that's reviewing your monthly statements, you're probably going to continue to pay for that service, even though you're not even using it. So, incredibly important to take this time of the year.
This goes back to, life and technology, or most things in life kind of parallel with, how one a lot tends to run a firm or a division of a firm, right? At the end of the day, it's you're cleaning out your closet to start a new year, in the best way possible, so you're ready to embark a new journey, as an example. So look at your client data, so it's up to date. Look at your vendor listing, are they up to date? Look at your subscriptions, are they up to date? Or cancel ones that are not adding value to what you're hoping to deliver.
Well, all right, so this is one that I'm really excited about, this next topic. Personalization at scale.
I love it.
Something that every advisor should be considering in 2026. You think about firms that do this well, or even companies outside of our industry that use personalization extremely well, right? Netflix is one that comes to the top of my mind, where it's kind of if you enjoyed this show, consider some of these. Movies we think you would like, shows that we think that you would like. Amazon is another one, right? The moment that you buy something or look at Amazon, you better believe they've got people who look at this also look at this.
Amazing.
We think that you would also enjoy this, and they follow that up with email. You should be doing the same things.
Absolutely.
Right? Introducing new products to your clients.
Yeah.
Or speaking to them in such a way that you fully understand who they are, what their needs are.
I'm smiling because I'm thinking about, we talked about, what was it that you said? Differentiation via technology. Mm-hmm. And could we also do differentiation via technology, which can help you? You know how in education, they'll say, each kid learns differently. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but it's differentiated, personalized approach to most things, right?
Let me take it a step further.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that I encourage our advisors to do on the marketing side is take a look at your client list, and maybe you send them a monthly newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you speak to them on a one-on-one basis.
Right.
start segmenting your entire client list into life stages, into AUMs,
I love that one.
into goals or financial plan
Absolutely.
milestones, right? And then send them information that's specific to them.
Exactly.
Right?
Something they're interested in. It's
100%.
relevant. It all comes down to relevancy, right?
Yeah.
So I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And by the way, we have actually had a podcast on, being able to scale through, doing personalization at scale. And a very basic example is essentially sending them emails through merge fields, right?
Yes.
Like, hey, Brian, how was your vacation in Honolulu? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, but those are the things that automation and workflows can help you do better.
Right. Exactly.
Make a client feel seen, make them feel connected to you.
And like you're listening. You're
Right.
listening to them. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is not allowing a robot to do work. Like, there are things that you need to do to make sure that these things are happening, but it's taking the client notes and evaluating, like, what are the important parts of this client meeting.
Oh my God, I just had, so at the end of the day, it's not just partnering with artificial intelligence, partnering with technology, right? Because that's where you really excel. Use their strengths to benefit you.
And you know what? It's like you've got an agenda for this call, because the next section in this is preparing for AI-driven advisor enablement, right? How are you utilizing AI to provide a better service for your clients?
Can I start by saying, if you're not utilizing AI, you're kind of a little bit behind, right? Your firm is a little bit behind. You're competing with elements that are reaching beyond the capability of humans today. And if you're not on that boat, if you're not, like I said, if you're not leaning in, it could cost you at the end of the day.
Well, right. I mean, like, that was the point of the Deloitte article we spoke about earlier, where, firms are moving away from experimentation to enterprise level
Deployment,
integrations, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I'll throw this out there. Do you think 2026 is going to be the year of the majority of firms and advisors move out of exploration into integration?
I think slowly. I think the firms that have done or invested in R&D most likely have the funds to really scale that technology now. I think it's going to be a ripple effect whereby the larger firms will still kind of go into deployment, and then it'll slowly reach the smallest of advisors, but it's coming. And it's going to come faster than most other technologies in the past.
Well, and right. And I'm not saying that smaller firms or firms without the funds to go to enterprise level tools are going to be left in the dust, because there are absolutely things that you could do to make yourself on par or better with the ones that do offer,
like the
those
note taker.
100%.
It's the most cost-effective integration with artificial intelligence.
Right.
Right? It has the script of your call with the client. It's able to give you the ability to outline what your conversation with the client was, what the goals were, what you talk about. We talk about personalized emails, an example, right? Like I'm sure that you're asking the client, what their plans are for the next 2 months, 3 months. It's all listed there. You have the power. You have the asset in your hand.
Right.
Leverage it in the most possible way.
Well, and not just that, but like meeting prep, reviewing transcripts and summaries from prior meetings. Like, those are things that are very easy, that are not a high level of investment, that make you a better advisor and more connected to your clients.
You could I'm thinking, like, if you're having a meeting with the client and they mention a specific security, right? I want to invest in Apple. Okay, when there is the right time to do so, you can do a keyword search at that point. Clients interested in, investing in Apple, there you go.
Yeah, 100%. What about, have you seen, and this is probably too far into 2026 or maybe even further along, enterprise grade compliance from an AI perspective?
Not so much yet, right? I think compliance is being compliant.
That's well done.
But at the end of the day, right, like, there is still an element of trust with financial services, and they are cautiously exploring the potential of artificial intelligence, and rightfully so. And that's why I think some of the simplistic partnerships are easier to deploy and test for, let's say, smaller to mid-sized firms, however you want to define those two. So, yeah.
Well, I'll say that the one that I'm the most familiar with is a piece of software called Social Patrol. I know LPL advisors who listen to the podcast will recognize that name because that's more of a reactionary tool that if an LPL advisor were to post something on social media that could have been non-compliant, so the Social Patrol will, is already following your social accounts, recognize that post, and immediately remove it from the social platform to protect the advisor, and rightfully so. Now, what stinks about it is that there's really not a notification that, like, hey, this was compliant. This is the reason that it was not compliant. But I do like the fact that LPL is utilizing that AI tool to kind of like crawl the web, recognize keywords, or natural language. To say, hey, listen, this is going to get you in trouble. We're gonna save you from yourself.
I think at the end of the day, like, prompting, triggering, and large language models that could create algorithms for us to leverage, are going to be the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, for big and small firms. And the more you adapt, the sooner you adapt, the easier.
So kind of, this is much farther into the future here. Where should advisors be thinking about as a way to enhance client experience on the front end of maybe their client-facing platforms? A lot of what I tell clients is, reduce the number of clicks or deliver on the promise that you are giving in a social post to say, if you want more information, click here, and have that click deliver you to the piece of content that they're looking for.
Yeah.
From your side, whether it be on the advisor's experience or the client's experience, what are some ways that you can kind of like clean up or, reduce some friction on that end?
Honestly, have a unique identifier.
Ooh, is that an issue that you see?
Oh my God. It's literally, if you have a single unique identifier that carries the key for you to integrate for all platforms, and people say, oh, just use social security numbers, and then they won't have social security numbers, right, in their system. And then we're like, okay, well, use email address as well then too. The primary and the spouse is sharing an email address. So have a unique identifier, because that, as you scale and trying to integrate with other systems, that's going to be the key to your freedom.
I wouldn't have thought that would have been a problem.
It is.
Wow. All right. Awesome. All right. So let's wrap this up here. And I want to end on a topic that is important for both you and I. Reporting and analytics.
Oh, man.
So one of the things that I think we both see on the Jedi side and on the marketing side is the advisors are so busy in the business that they're not looking at the business, right?
I love that.
Where they don't have the time to have a full understanding of how long does it take when I sign a new client to have funds in the accounts? When can I start billing, right? Or how long, or where are my top referrals coming from?
Yeah.
Where are my top referrals coming from?
Or what is the cost of acquiring a client? What is the cost of retaining a client? What is the cost of losing a client?
What is my lifetime value of a client?
Exactly. I mean, these are just like, we just named 4 simple stats. And if you have the growth mindset, I think those are the, first few things that you would start to, tinker in your brain for. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like if you're a business owner.
These
are things that you should be looking at.
And
if
spend
you're not,
sleepless nights over.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so one of the things that I think opens the eyes of a lot of advisors is, where am I spending my time? Am I spending my time with clients that are my most important clients? And what metric am I using to determine my most important clients? I'm using air quotes here for those who aren't watching on YouTube, because my most important client is not the one that I go golfing with the most. It's, where are my clients that have the most opportunity?
I had a client once, Brian, that that, they had, I would say 10% of their top tier clients. You would assume, like, if their margins are whatever they are, they're bringing in a quarter mil for a client, or 300,000. Those are the best clients, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And you're catering all your attention to them because they're really keeping. Guess what? This client realized that the top 5 clients that he had were giving him the lowest margins, because all his staff was spending most of their time catering to these clients. God forbid they had, private equity that, they were getting distributions and, they had to report on. And the lowest tier, let's say the clients that are like 20, 30 grand per year, right? Don't touch, no conversation, no work. Those were best returns, right? So you would think, but how do you realize something without numeric evaluation? And that's where analytics really come in.
It's so funny. I had a very similar conversation with a buddy of mine who's an advisor, and I was having this conversation with him because I was expecting for him to say, well, Brian, I just don't know. And I was going to give him a hard time.
Yeah.
But he came right back at me, and he was like, oh, this guy is my most important client. And it's not because he has the most invested with me. I only manage a very small 401k. But he's my most important client because he refers me the most business. And that was the KPI that he tracked.
That's an important one. Yeah. Is there an indirect benefit to having a client? Like, I know a lot of times, like this specific client, at least the top 1 or 2 within this 5 were like branded logos, right? That were just pulling in that, you're working with this financial advisor. All right, so there are other values that are soft, right? But absolutely important to consider.
Well, and it's going to depend on each advisor and their situation, because, advisors who have a incredible lead pipeline, referrals and the number of referrals and referral sources may not be the most important thing, but managed portfolios and the fees that you're generating from these clients may be your number one KPI.
Exactly.
But like my buddy, he's hunting for his food. And so he's going to nurture the relationships that are generating the most referrals.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. If you're buying like, a box at like a really expensive, important game, or if you're like taking them to like really expensive dinners, that's cost of retaining a client.
100% it is.
Right? At the end of the day, if you're charging them 1% if they're, assets under management, and that comes out to $200,000, but you're spending $100,000 to retain them.
Yep.
What does that really look like?
100%.
Yeah,
I love that. All right, so to wrap this up, let's kind of like talk about the key takeaways here. Number 1, clean and unify your data foundation.
Absolutely.
Right? The very first thing we talked about, most important thing. Take a look at cybersecurity, logins, user permissions, backups,
policies,
regulatory, compliance issues, top 3 workflows.
Maybe
that should have been number 2.
Yeah, so do a health check, right? Just review all the items that we outlined. Do a security check, I would almost call it, right? Like, make sure your data is backed up, make sure it has the right policies, make sure you have, multi-factor authentication, have trusted IP addresses, blah, blah, blah. And the third, I would say, at the end of the day, is like plan out, how you could partner with AI. Honestly, that is going to be, think of the most simple use case. If you're in the phase like, I'm, still skeptical about the value, start with a note taker.
Yeah. And I would say start with your white paper and then move on from there.
Oh, I love that.
All right, so let's recap. Finding the white paper, JediSolutions.com. You go to resources. From there, you could also find Sue, but in case they are not willing to go to the website for whatever reason, they just want to reach out to you directly, how do they do that?
Sue Cheema at EliteConsultingPartners.com.
Love it. Sue, this is awesome. I know that we've unpacked a ton. Just as a reminder, all of this information will be in the show notes. So if you're listening on your favorite platform, whether that be Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes. I guess it's iTunes, not Apple Music. Amazon Music. We're on Amazon Music now.
Yeah, look at that.
But all of your show notes will be down with the transcript and links to get a hold of Sue. So as always, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Love that you're on these platforms with us. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to engage.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics relating to the financial services industry, or just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to EliteConsultingPartners.com/podcast.